Hi, this is episode 14 of an ongoing series. If you're a little lost, confused, you can click on the little icons in the corner there to take you to the first episode and the fifth episode, which are great starting points. Other than that, though, enjoy. Episode 14, Idol Among Idols. Recap. Omega Squad is still recovering from their battle. Back on the Paladin, Abraham is still training with Onyx, while Oscar is looking for a lead on Ishin through the HoloNet, and Sophia still trying to cut off her emotions. But this was all interrupted when a prisoner and new mission came along. "Come on, just a little more," Onyx shouted, standing over Abraham, who was covered in sweat, lifting a weight on a bench. Slowly he brought the weight to its rack, letting it lay still. "I can't feel my arms," Abraham lethargically cried. "That's a good thing, and I didn't say you could stop," Onyx yelled, trying to hype him up. "But my body did." Onyx shook his head. "Let's go again." But before Abraham could pick up the weight, they heard marching coming from the hallway. Opening the automatic door, they saw someone being escorted between a uniformed ball of ESF soldiers, their weapons trained on the escortee. "Ah, it's good to see Abraham's alive," a voice came from the other side of the hallway. Looking over, Oscar was there. "If you're wondering who it is that they have, it's none other than Skarn." Abraham had a look of bewilderment. "Wait, why is he on the Paladin?" No. Who knows? Beats me. You want to find out, though?" Abraham thought for a moment. How would he react to seeing him? Hate, pride, or something else? From a distance they followed, every once in a while getting a glimpse of Skarn. Finally, he was taken to one of the 5 holding cells aboard the Paladin. The 3 of them finally saw Skarn. Behind a reinforced glass cell, his wrists were bound in steel shackles that covered the entire hand. His fat chest was bare to the air, but next to where his heart was supposed to be, pointing out, was the Florum artifact, humming a low green glow. Skarn's left arm had rock-like scales all across it. "Are you supposed to be here?" an ESF soldier with rosy cheeks asked Omega Squad. "I think so," Abraham said, scratching his head. "Don't worry, he's the Omega. I doubt any harm will come to us," Oscar said. The soldier stared at them a little longer than he should have. All right." He walked out, leaving the 3 of them alone with Skarn. He didn't say a word, only smiling from the glass. "What are we supposed to do now?" Onyx whispered to Oscar. "I guess we could ask him a few questions," Oscar said. Abraham walked up to the glass, an odd look in his eyes as he stared into the eyes of his assaulter. "How are you feeling?" Abraham inquired through the speaker that went both ways. "Better than ever," Skarn responded. "And does that hurt?" Abraham pointed to the artifact. "Those ESF scientists had a look at it, and they told me that it shouldn't react to any or have the power for me to use it." Skarn got a good look at Abraham's face. "You feel it too, don't ya? That pull from this artifact, a voice calling from beyond to take it?" Slowly and unconsciously, Abraham's hand slowly moved to the control panel, while Skarn continued. "That's not all, though. There's that look in your eyes." "Not the first time, either." Coming to his senses, Abraham retracted his hand. "You don't know that," he quaked. Skarn started to laugh. "I don't need to know to see it. At least the kid Scarlet parades around doesn't try to hide it." Oscar butted in. "Do you mind if I ask a few questions?" As he began his round of questioning, Abraham left the room. Onyx followed behind him. "Hey, you know what helps me get my mind off of stuff like this? A good cardio workout." "I'm fine, Onyx. I just need to get away from all of that." Abraham gave a fake smile. How about we eat then? I have a few more recipes to try out. Onyx's brow raised, as then he smelt something in the air. Do you smell that? There was a faint smell of peaches and strawberries, between the smells of cleaner they used for the ship's floor that morning. Yeah, a little. There's something about it. Onyx grabbed his shoulders. I don't think you understand that smell. It's the perfume of the limited edition perfume, actually, from the Love with Weavers star named Ella. The bottle is in this nice mold of a flower. It's really cool, actually. Onyx then, without even thought, ran down the hallway, harassing any passerbys, Abraham trying to contain the fanatic muscle-bound fan. Hey, let me smell you! That's so weird out of context. Hey, let me smell you! Onyx yelled at a poor technician. Onyx sniffed the air around him like an animal. Ah, never mind. It's not you. He then approached a hooded person waiting for an automatic door to open, where he got the scent fully into his nose. I would know that smell from anywhere. So here's the question. Are you a fan of Love with Weavers or Ella's band Peculiar Pops? Huh? The hooded person turned around. Onyx's eyes exploded from his skull, as in front of him was Ella herself. Leave her alone! A young man with a neon green mohawk jumped between them. Onyx was now even more surprised. Luke, the guitarist? Yeah, it is. Now back up for my sister, Luke commanded. Is everything all right? Abraham ran up to them. Onyx turned around, tears in his eyes. It's better than all right. The door behind them slid open, Leo standing there. Oh, good, some of you are already meeting. Come inside, everyone, and we can introduce each other. Confused, they followed to the bridge, where the rest of the Peculiar Pops and Omega Squad met up. Leo stood in front of the hollow table, both groups on either side. Omega Squad, this is the Peculiar Pops. From what it looks like, some of you already know about them. Leo eyed the smiling Onyx. Either way, introductions are first at hand. First, Leo introduced Omega Squad. And finally, to finish it all off, we have the Peculiar Pops. On the left, we have Alex. He gave a nod, making his shaggy auburn hair blow into his face. Nice to meet you all. I'm the band's drummer, but I wouldn't be if it wasn't for Robert over here. Pointing all the way to the right was a young man with short hair. Excuse me, but the drums are primal compared to what I do for us. Oh, yes, of course, Technician Robert, because the intricacies of a snare drum are so uninteresting. Leo cleared his throat. And in the middle here, we have Ella and Luke. Nice to meet all of you, Ella meekly said, taking off her hood, showing her pink-dyed curly hair. Luke, on the other hand, ignored them. So, why exactly are they here? Oscar asked. Yeah, we really don't need to be here. Luke slouched in his chair. Well, Miss Ella here has requested the escort of the Omega and his confidants, Leo informed. Abraham's eyes lit up. Really? You need us? Well, actually, I just wanted to meet all of you. I had heard some of your adventures. Like, is it true you're an exiled noble, Oscar? No, not at all. I'm just a little fire weaver is all. He started to whistle, ignoring the question. And yes, I want to request your help with a simple escort to Pompeii. We've already gone over the payment with Master Leo here. We'll take it! Onyx shouted, slamming his fist into the hollow table, making it flicker on and off. Do you have bodyguards? Sophia asked. We do, but my sister would rather recruit the help of some weavers. Ella tapped him on the shoulder. It's not your call, brother. So, would the four of you mind escorting us? Sophia gave a nod of approval, same with Onyx. Ah, why not? It would be good to step back on Pompeii's soil after all, Oscar affirmed while stretching. Well, I think that settles it. Omega Squad will be your escort, Miss Ella. Abraham smiled. Thank you all, Ella said. before being interrupted by Onyx. "Hey, follow me to our ship. It's called the Orla, and it's got the best seats you ever sat on," Onyx rallied. Ella laughed while following Onyx, who was now talking about the various foods he can make. On the ship, the peculiar pops got comfortable as it took off, Weave jumping into the depths of space. Oscar debated with Robert about how the Atomo generators of Genki needed more helium than nitrogen. Meanwhile, Onyx was making food, Alex next to him. "All right, so let me get this straight. You're going to add yak meat with bananas for a steak dinner?" Alex judged. "That's not all, for the sweetness of the banana will not appear in the taste of the yak steak unless you add a bit of this." Onyx grabbed a bottle from the drawer, flipping it in the air. He grabbed it perfectly, popping off the top with just the press of his thumb. A white, viscous liquid poured into the hot pan, causing a hiss. Alex got a better look at the bottle. The label had the picture of a smiling yak below it. "Interesting. I'll have to see if it's good or not." Don't worry, you'll get a bite." "Hey, Ella, would you like the first one?" Onyx asked across the Ola. She turned around from watching Abraham and Sophia playing a match of Mech Battle Smite 5th edition. "Sure. Also, it smells wonderful from here," she smiled, going back to watching the match as Abraham's army was completely crushed by Sophia's commander unit, winning yet another game. Abraham sighed, seeing the score, 0 for him and 12 for Sophia. "Don't worry. One of these days you will win. But first, you will have to find out my strategy," Sophia snickered. I don't get it. Every angle I come at, you somehow counter." "If you don't mind, you can go up against me, Omega. I know a little bit about the game," Ella spoke up. Sure, why not?" Abraham pressed a few buttons. The entire match played in reverse. As it sped up, eventually every unit was back in their respective spot. Sophia nodded towards Ella, getting up. She moved to the bunks in the back room to meditate, watching as Luke came to sit down next to her sister. "So, how did you hear so much about us?" Abraham questioned, playing the first turn. "Oh, who doesn't? The ESF is always reporting on your exploits." Ella moved one of her units up to a disadvantageous position that Abraham capitalized on. "I wonder why." "I can tell you that," Luke said, sitting down, drinking a translucent red in a glass bottle in the shape of a tear or drop of blood called Cherry's Cry. "You're a weapon for the ESF to flex at anyone who would oppose us." "Oh, I'm not a weapon, I'm just helping the galaxy," he smiled as Ella takes the objective. "Call it whatever, but us humans are going to keep you on a tight leash." "Be nice, Luke," Ella scolded, her voice raising just a little more. Just then, Abraham felt a tap on his shoulder. "Hey, our navigation machine is having trouble," Oscar said, watching as the siblings argued. "Navigation machine? Oh, you mean Otis, our Abraham watched as Oscar shook his head sternly, not to say it, looking back at their guests. "Oh, yeah, our navigation machine. I'm sorry, Ella, but I gotta go check something," Abraham apologized, getting up. "It's okay. We can just finish this later," she said. Just then, Onyx came around, placing a steak with a golden glaze on the table, mech holograms phasing out of the way. "Enjoy it, my lady." Onyx tried to bow, feeling his weave-sickened skin crack just a little more from the flexing. Entering the pilot room, Otis was messing around with the controls, making its head do a 180, its mechanical body not even shifting. "Master Abe, for some reason, we are about to leave weave jump status, 22 minutes early." "Any reason why?" Abraham asked. "More than likely, just debris in our way." "Nothing to worry about, Master Abraham." Otis brought his mechanical fingers up, making a thumbs up. "Or it's pirates," Oscar said while sitting in the co-pilot seat. "My data suggests that pirates would not be this close to one of the 3 settlement highways," Otis informed. The three of them listened to the Ola's weave engine slowing down. Coming out of its weave jump, they were in the darkness of space, stars all around them. Suddenly, floodlights shined on their small vessel. A massive ship shaped like a whale floated in front of them. Its hull opened. The Ola was slowly floating towards its open maw. "Can you get us out of here, Otis?" Abraham asked, trying not to panic. "Negative. Our ship has been locked into a magnetic pole." Otis stopped all movement, knowing it was futile. While Oscar was clicking and pushing buttons, taking out his tablet, he started to download something. "Hurry, I'd go tell the others what's happening," Oscar commanded. Running in, Abraham informed everyone of what was going on. As the Ola was fully consumed by this space whale, its maw shutting behind them. "What are we going to do?" Ella said, looking around. Abraham thought of what to do in this predicament. "Let's use the bottom hatch of the ship to get out." "Well, you might want to hurry, because we got a bunch of pirates coming from this metallic whale thing coming our way," Oscar informed, holding a tablet. Running to the back room, Abraham showed them the hatch that first led to where they kept all their cargo, then an air-sealed hatch on the floor. With the press of a button, it opened with a hiss. Abraham made sure everyone got out. "Are you coming?" Oscar looked at him. "Just one sec. I gotta hide Otis." Running back inside, Otis sat still in the pilot seat. "Should you not be escaping, Master Abraham?" Otis asked. "I will, but you gotta hide," Abraham said, while unscrewing a nearby grill to the ship's ventilation. "Ah, yes, your hiding place for when you were younger and you broke your neighbor's window." Otis moved inside the vent, where Abraham saw a few people walking towards the Ola through its front window. A man with a braided beard in front, and a younger man with a robotic eye next to him. Running to the storage hatch, he hears the door hiss open. Escaping the Ola, Abraham ran towards Oscar, who had his head poking out behind a storage container. "You know, I'm a little surprised they didn't catch you," Oscar bantered. Yeah. I know. What's our next step, though?" Abraham asked. "We should probably disable that magnet that dragged us in here," Alex said, pointing towards the large magnet that seemed to be inside the wall of the hangar. "Then we would also need to open the mouth of the ship," Sophia added. "Any ideas where the controls would be?" Onyx asked. "That's easy. It's more than likely in the bridge," Sophia said, watching for any movement, her weapon loaded with lightning. "Wouldn't the controls to the magnet be there too?" Ella joined in. "You would think so, but no." Oscar lifted the tablet in his hands. "When we were being pulled in, I downloaded the blueprints of this enormous ship. It also describes that the magnets automatically start when the mouth opens, unless it's turned off at this checkpoint." Oscar pointed to a small chamber in the middle of the ship. "So we just turn it off?" "Easy," Luke smiled. "We could, or actually, closer to our location, are the generators that power the magnets." Oscar showed them the generator room right next to storage. "Now that's more like it," Onyx laughed, readying his hammer. "That's stupid. Everyone would know we were there if we blew it up, and how would we even do that?" Luke debated. "Well, for the part who would do it, we have Onyx." Oscar pointed his thumb at Onyx, who was giving a nod of approval. "So we have two places to hit? What should we do?" Ella asked, moving as far as she could within the cover of the storage containers. Abraham thought for a moment. If they blew up the generators, the entire ship would go on lockdown. Well, if they turned it off, someone could easily turn it back on. Then the matter of getting to the bridge, and once there, opening the mouth. Either way, the ship's crew will know something is up. "I propose that we split up," Abraham asserted. "We can't take chances with them turning on, so we should go for blowing up the generators, while another group goes to the bridge." Luke shook his head. "You guys do realize that once we blow it up, they will be crawling in that bridge, and the entire ship? Then we just have to be smart about it. How about when you guys are ready to enter the bridge, sit and wait in a vent or something. Then, when we blow up the generators, you do your stuff," Oscar proposed. "Fine. Whatever." Then who's going where? Abraham asked. I'll stay here, Ella quaked. Onyx sat next to her. I don't think that's an option. Come with me to the generator room. I'll make sure you're okay. He finally said something smart. You're more than likely going to be discovered here. And not to mention, I'll be right next to you, Luke asserted, helping her up. I'll go to the generator room too. Help burn it all down, Oscar added. Then that leaves Alex, Sophia, me, and Robert, Abraham said. I'm fine with that, and I'm good with computers, possibly even permanently able to keep the mouth open, Robert said. Wait, how do we not get lost? Alex asked. I've got that, Sophia said, studying Oscar's map. I've got a pretty good memory. Well, let's get going then, Abraham rallied. Meanwhile, aboard the Ola, the pirate leader Mingram inspected the steak, still in a skillet, taking a bite out and spitting it out. Who in the sodding hell would eat a steak so sweet? And is it well done? Mingram cried, while his crew inspected every inch of the ship, stealing a few valuables too. Marco used his robotic eye to scan through the solid steel. He was able to change the level and area of the eye, first checking storage containers, then the ventilation, where Marco noticed moving wires and glass. Shifting the level down, Marco sees what appears to be a machine. Hey guys, come with me, Marco yelled. Opening the cockpit, Marco noticed the grill ajar, where he found the machine. Otis looked at them before speaking. Hello, how are you? Just to let you know, you are not allowed to step on this ship unless you are allies or friends of my master. While Mingram and his crew commandeered the robot, Abraham and his crew made their way through the ship. Hiding in a utility room, they waited for a few pirates to move who were debating the best grease boxer. Finally, they were able to move deeper, where they found themselves in an auditorium made out of mahogany. The smell was a nice change from the metallic stink of everything else. Covering the floor were machine parts, ranging from computers to weaver hunters. This is interesting. We should take a few, Robert said, inspecting the robotic eye of a weaver hunter. Quiet. Look at the stage, Sophia shushed. On the stage was a woman, wearing a uniform with a Neo-Weaver symbol plastered on the back. She seemed to be taking the machines and plugging their database into a computer, scanning any useful info. A door next to the stage opened with another hiss. Stepping out was Mingram, alone with Otis. Abraham had half a mind to run and get him back. Wait, what are you doing? Sophia asked Abraham, who was now getting closer to Mingram, inching inch by inch. He hid behind an old supercomputer chassis, listening in on the conversation. Mingram tells the Neo-Weaver member to follow him to the bridge to analyze the machine, leaving the four alone again. Why do you look so concerned for a machine? Alex asked Abraham, who had an expression as if he stepped in dog excrement. Can I talk to you alone for a sec, Sophia? Abraham asked, getting away from Robert and Alex. So, you know how Leo has owned Otis for a long time? Yeah. Sophia crossed her arms. Well, Leo's been everywhere with him, like meetings and even more. Okay. We've never changed the data drives. So it has secrets. Yeah, a lot. And now it's in the hands of space pirates? Abraham facepalmed. From over the piles of machinery, Alex tells them, Hey, we found a maintenance shaft, heading towards their direction. Well, Abraham, let's go back and get your stupid machine. Sophia winked. Entering the maintenance shaft that Alex and Robert had discovered, they followed Sophia between the pipes and glowing buttons were little labels for each maintenance tunnel. One led to the common room. Another oddly went to a pool room. You seem a little upset over the autopilot machine, Alex said. Yeah, I've just had it for a long time, Abraham admitted. Well, no worry. Before I became a drummer, I was a co-pilot for a large space freighter, and I was usually the one responsible for weave jumping. Sophia stopped moving, looking at a label that said bridge. Quiet, we're approaching. They slowly moved, making sure no one could hear them, as they looked out a grate at Mingram and the Neo-Weaver scientist, who pored over the data of Otis, who was plugged into the main terminal. This is an insane amount of info, she gawked. Yeah. But it's mostly just pictures of some kid and his many birthdays. Anything good? Mingram asked, while yawning at a picture of a 9-year-old Abraham blowing out candles. I think so. Let me just open this folder. Before she could, red alert lights beeped. The main terminal showed that the magnet generator room had been destroyed. Mingram smirked. Ah, there's our stowaways! Pulling out a small communicator, Mingram yelled into it. Marco, head to the generator room now! With benevolence. Realizing it was their cue, Abraham jumped out, metal in hand, encasing both in improvised ice. Mingram had the face of a dog, while the scientist had that of a scared cat. Well, I'll know never to get on your bad side, Alex laughed, following behind him. Robert ran to the terminal. All right, unplug the machine, he commanded. Sophie and Abraham separated the cords from Otis's chest as he powered back on. Master, good to see you. He gave Abraham a hug. Are you okay? Did they do anything to you? Abraham asked. No, not at all. They just went through my data. Luckily, I redirected them to birthday photos of you, and a few baby ones too. Sophia snorted under her breath, thinking of the fact of these photos. All right, almost done, Robert said, making the terminal believe the ship was in complete meltdown, opening the sealed door, including the maw. Just a question, Mr. Technician. Are we sure we're not going to suffocate while trying to get into the ship? Alex asked. No drumstick, it's got an atmospheric bubble in the maw, like the ones miners use on meteors. Just then a cracking got their attention. First they didn't know from where, until they realized it was coming from Mingram's ice, slowly breaking. Otis scanned Mingram, the cracking ice cube. Alleviated heart rate, and over 50 years of water weaver experience. I would suggest running. Just then, his icy prison shattered. So, you had a diversion team, and you thought you could take out me, Mingram the Mariner. Think again. The four of them booked it down the hallway, Otis right behind, Mingram launching glacial globes of ice, Sophia intercepted with implicit implicable lightning. Just as it seemed he was gaining on them, an explosion rocked the entire ship, causing everyone to fall to the ground. A few minutes before the alarm and explosion, Oscar stood in front of a door whose name was labeled above. Rechargeable Magnetic Reactor Room. Kind of a mouthful. Oscar laughed, moving inside. Luke and Ella looked over the terminals, with meters confirming its safe state. I'm pretty sure that's it, Onyx said, looking at a large cylindrical object in the middle of the room. Stand back, everyone! Onyx covered himself in stone armor, just in case it exploded. Reeling back his hammer, a smack of seismic proportions imploded the metal cylinder wall. Meters and terminals were going crazy as an alarm blasted through the ship. The moisture in the room was absorbed by a white-hot coil now exposed to the outside air. In between the coil was a floating ball of metal. Onyx backed up with the others, their eyes watering from the heat. Oscar walked forward, weapon in hand. Stance correct, he immolated the coils, making them burn even hotter and hotter. So hot, in fact, the large coils screamed metallic death, and the others had to leave the room as it slowly melted away. Oscar walked out, his clothes smoking. One great fact of being a fire weaver is I'm practically fireproof, Oscar said, taking a deeper breath of cold air. Hurry, we gotta go, Luke commanded, already running down the hall. The four ran past storage rooms of plunder. Luke helmed the way, while Onyx purposely ran slower, making sure Ella wasn't left behind. Unbeknownst to them, hiding between the halls, was Marco. Using a terminal, he turned on one of the mini emergency blast doors, separating Onyx and Ella on one side. Luke and Oscar on the other. The last thing Oscar saw of Onyx was Benevolence behind them, her minigun raised. In front of Oscar, though, was Marco and a gathering of pirates. "I would suggest surrendering if I were you," he yelled, weapon drawn. "Like hell we will," Luke provoked. Meanwhile, Oscar pulled out his tablet, noticing their left mirrored a storage room. Marco was about to open fire when Oscar spoke up. "What are your terms of surrender?" he asked, pressing a hand onto the wall. Oscar felt it flex. A smile formed on Oscar's face as his hand slowly started to burn the wall. Marco looked perplexed. "What?" "Well, you know, are we going to be given proper sleeping quarters and, of course, food?" Luke noticed the hole being burnt. Sliding in front of it, a hole big enough for Oscar's hand to slip through was created. Slowly, he started to burn away the sides and making it even bigger. "It doesn't matter what we do. Throw your weapons over, Weaver, and we'll take good care of you." "I wouldn't get any closer," Luke taunted. "Are you insane? That's a Dan Weaver, so no. I'm giving you to the count of 3, though, to throw away your weapons, or we're going to open fire from here." Oscar's hand grew brighter with heat. Marco had 3 fingers up. 3, 2... Oscar burned away so much that the smell of burnt metal caught Marco's nose. 1. Just as he said it, Oscar grabbed Luke's collar, smashing through the malleable wall. Luke got up, making sure he didn't catch on fire, when he heard the sound of an engine. Looking up, Oscar drove a forklift already loaded with a large box, plugging the hole. As the sound of commotion came from the other side. "The door!" Luke panicked, running over to the control terminal on the wall. "Give me your weapon!" Without a word, Oscar threw it to him. As Luke plunged the blade into the circuitry, shocks followed. But now the door was jammed. "You can pull it out now. It won't electrocute you, and it won't open the door," Luke said, catching his breath, feeling his heart beating out of his chest. "The only way they are going to open it is if they open it from the bridge. You know, that takes some experience to disable a door like that. What did you used to do?" Oscar prodded, pulling out his blade. "I used to work on mechanical doors when I was 10, trying to make ends meet for me and my sister, after our parents died." "Why is it that everyone's parents are dead or missing?" Oscar thought out loud, inspecting the storage room. "Oh, I don't know. How about you weavers that threw a hissy fit after the war?" Luke crossed his arms. "It wasn't a question. I was trying to add some humor to our situation, you average-hating human weaver that you are." Oscar started to uncover boxes covered in tarps that were full of rum, and a name was printed onto the boxes. Ferguson's Fun Rum, it was called. "Imagine for just a second, Luke, that humanity's fundamental way of life has been uprooted. Of course there would be dissidents who would fight back. And imagine you're around veterans and survivors of that war who talk about a time before it where we had our sovereignty, our identity, that has been now eroded over the years. And I'm sorry for what you have been through, but imagine my people." Then Oscar saw something tucked away in a corner, a black metal box. Opening it up, he giggled, as it was full of missiles and small grenades the size of marbles. The now quiet Luke looked into the huge box, gasping. "Well, if we're looking to create a distraction, I think we have it right here. And that door probably won't stay closed forever. Now, open those boxes of rum. I have an idea." A few minutes passed as Marco and the other pirates were using a giant drill to open the door. "Wouldn't it be easy to call the bridge and let them open it?" a pirate asked. "I've already tried, but apparently Mingram has something more important going on. Just hurry with the drill." Marco used his mechanical eye to check for any heat signals behind the wall, but there seemed to be nothing nearby. Just then the door opened, and so did every other single door in the hallway. "Huh, well, ain't that a little odd? Guess something's happening on the bridge. Well, men, charge!" Marco ran into the room where he didn't see the two stowaways. That was until Oscar came out of another hole he had burnt into the wall that led into another storage room. Oscar waved at them. It was just then that Marco noticed the glint of liquid on the ground, following it as it went to a black box. Just then the liquid caught fire as Oscar started to run, as in just a few seconds the flames reached the rump-soaked explosives and almost immediately exploded, causing Oscar to tumble, catching him in its inferno. Luke looked to see an immolated Oscar walking towards him, grunting to get away. Using his metal, Oscar pointed it to the roof. An ocean of overloading flames sped forth. The flipping flames on Oscar disappeared. His clothes weren't even charred. As he fell to the ground, his energy spent. You want to know the worst part about being a fire weaver? You can't breathe half the time. Oscar coughed, taking his time. He got back up. Are you good? Luke asked. Yeah, I'm fine. Let's get back to the hangar. Not the first time I've set myself on fire. And won't be the last. Making their way back, Abraham and crew had also reached the hangar. Oh, it's good to see you guys, too. We need to run to the ship. There's a crazed man cosplaying as a pirate trying to kill us. Robert panicked. Wait, where's Onyx? Abraham asked. As if on cue, the sounds of hundreds of bullets going off caught their attention. At the top of the enormous hangars was Onyx, Ella behind him, as he protected her from a stinging death. They were pushed back and back. Onyx's weave was as sturdy as stone. But it didn't matter, as behind them was a 100-foot drop. In front of them was Benevolence, with a flurry of bullets. A shield of rock protected them, as Onyx used more and more weave to repair it, also using his stone armor to take the hits. He looked behind him to see this meek girl with tears in her eyes, who couldn't even defend herself. Ella, I once promised my mother something, that I would protect those who I could, and I will. But, as selfish as I am, I have one request. His voice boomed within the stone armor. What is it? She stammered. Well, I would love to hear a live performance of the song Puffball. I can do that, she said meekly. Onyx had watched so many performances from a tablet or terminal that he knew whenever she sung this one song, her eyes closed. Just as her eyes closed and her mouth began to open with a beautiful melody, Onyx weaved his sturdy armor around her, leaving him only with a flimsy shield of rock. He pushed forward, bullets grazing his bare body. He could feel his legs wanting to give, his arms wanting to slouch, and his head wanting to bow. But the bleeding rock moved forward, closer and closer to Benevolence. Just then, though, he heard the sound of reloading. As Benevolence's minigun started to auto-load, he had only a few seconds. Taking his chance, he warped his weaved stone onto his heroic hammer, trying to hit Benevolence, just barely missing as it hit into the catwalk. A boom with the power of a bomb, causing the section both him and Benevolence were on to break. Both started to fall. The only thought Onyx had was that he couldn't hear the rest of Ella's voice. Just then the sensation of cold was brought to his attention, and a slick slide of ice caught him, bringing Onyx onto the now flying Ola, as Abraham's weapon was frozen with frost, his eyes full of panic and relief. Hurry, Otis, bring us to Ella, Abraham commanded. Rushing her onto the ship, they got out as soon as possible, Mingram watching in disappointment as the ship jumped away. On the Ola, they placed Onyx on a bed in the back. Otis injected him with various different medicines, stabilizing Onyx for the moment. Moving away from the wounded Onyx, Otis came up to the rest of them. Sir, Onyx will be okay for now, but we need to get to a medical center immediately. We will be in Pompey's orbit in 16 minutes. Once there, I will signal them that we have a medical emergency. Thank you for everything, Otis. Abraham smiled as they stayed in the room with Onyx. But one after another, they slowly left so that he could get his rest. All except Ella, who sat at the edge of the bed. Onyx had one eye open as he watched her sit. "I'll be fine," he croaked. "I know. I just didn't get to finish my song." "And you said that you wanted a live performance," she smiled, now beginning her beautiful harmony once again. In the main room, everyone was either asleep or quietly listening to her melody take over the ship. Alex sat next to Abraham on the couch. "You know, a walking travel navigator machine is a terrible excuse," Alex laughed. "Really?" Abraham asked. "Yeah, the first moment I saw it, I knew what it was. You should use something like medical drone. That always gets past people." "Yeah, that would be a good idea." Abraham yawned, shutting his eyes. But meanwhile, back on Mingram's ship, he was talking at his terminal to Zachariah. "I'm sorry, sir, but we didn't get the peculiar pops." "I see. Yet you speak as if you're withholding something from me." "Not withholding, sir, but I do have something for you. The ones that were with her had a bot. And you know how you were looking for combat data? Look at this." Mingram pulled up thousands of clips of a younger Leo slaughtering his way through the unification wars. "I see. This will work wonderfully." "And how much are you wanting again?" Zachariah asked. "How about 2 other ships of this size?" Zachariah smiled. "You have a deal." "Ah, thank you, sir. And remember, if you need anything, you know who to call." Just then, the communication ended as Zachariah looked into the night at the moon above him, a potential now building for him, and a future that he could call his own. For all Weavers. Thank you for, listening to all this. If you enjoyed it or have any criticisms, tell me down below. Other than that, enjoy these bloopers. "Hey, let me smell you." That's so weird out of context. "Well, you know, are we going to give...